Boom, urban farmers, gardeners, and healthy food visionaries. Greg Peterson here, and welcome to the 253rd episode of the Urban Farm Podcast, where 3 days a week we work together educating and inspiring you to become part of your food revolution. Healthy food is something everybody wants. Delicious and nutritious, and right outside your door is even better. Just text GARDEN to 44222 or go to iwanttogarden.com and you will receive our free webinar about the 7 key factors you need to know to grow your own food. Remember, that's GARDEN to 44222 or iwanttogarden.com. Today on the Urban Farm Podcast, we have returning guest Tony Kasowski to talk about farm trippin', traveling across part of the United States and profiling farms. Tony is a co-founder and principal farmer at St. Vincent de Paul Urban Farms in Phoenix, Arizona. The agricultural division to the charity provides food production, education, and revenue generation, and has produced over 100,000 pounds of fresh food to feed the working, needy, and homeless through 5 dining rooms in Arizona. The farm is also responsible for mitigating over 1 million pounds of food and landscape material through its composting initiatives. Tony is also the founder of growkale.com, where he consults, educates, designs, and builds ecological and chemical-free edible spaces. His current project, Farm Trippin', is a cross-country road trip showcasing ways to grow food mindfully while featuring the individuals and their stories behind the farms. He will be sharing his journey through his website, farmtrippin.com. That's farmtrippin.com, and the informative Instagram account, Tony Grows Food. Welcome to the show today, Tony.
Hey, Greg. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
I am fantastic. So this is your second time on the show, and the first time around we talked about the St. Vincent de Paul Urban Farm in Phoenix, Arizona, and, all the work that you're doing there. That podcast was released on March 22nd, 2016. So anybody that wants to go look him up can look up that date, or just type in Tony in the search engine, and you'll tell us all about the St. Vincent de Paul project. But I do want an update because you've had some exciting things happen in the past year since we had you on the show. So why don't you give us a quick update on your urban farm project at St. Vincent de Paul?
Absolutely, Greg. Well, one of the things that has happened, and it's a pretty big deal, is the Rob and Melanie Walton Foundation have actually awarded us a $1 million grant specifically for our urban farm project. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It gives us some capital to do some aesthetic and improvements at the farm to make us more fitting for education, events, and also really kind of puts us on the map and gives us the ability to really do some long-term planning, some really cool projects, and really take the farm to the next level. One more thing, not at our specific property, but we have another property at the Human Services campus in downtown Phoenix. They were just awarded a grant through the Valley Partnership Alliance. It's basically a grant where there's a group of the Valley Partnership, and they work with different types of professionals in all types of industries, and they utilize their resources to really get in-kind donations for the project. So we were awarded that grant.
Wow.
Our awesome farmer, Nika Sase, is running that project, and they'll be doing aquaponics, meditation, irrigation, shade structures, greenhouses.
Nice.
And so far, it looks like the value of that's going to be around $250,000.
Wow.
Other than that, we were also, the Arizona Diamondbacks Foundation gave us around $30,000 grant, and we were able to buy a Bobcat machine, which has stepped up our composting initiatives.
Nice.
And we're now growing mushrooms. Our aquaponics system is still going strong. We're just continuing to grow, literally and figuratively, even in this hot temps where we're getting to, they say between 117 and 120 on Monday. I don't know how relevant those 3 degrees are, but
right.
we're still going strong out here.
Yeah, once it gets up over 115 here, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of numb everything out. It's all a blur.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to bring you back. We had chatted recently about your new project called farmtrippin.com. That's FARMTRIPPIN.com, farmtrippin.com. So what's going on? Tell us about it.
Well, I've been using the app Instagram for some time now, a few years, and that's at Tony Grows Food is my Instagram name. And it's been a pretty successful way for me to kind of get our message out there and also hook up with other growers throughout the world, really. And one of the things that I've been really thinking about and kind of telling these different farmers is, hey, I'm going to come visit you one day. I want to come see your farm. This is amazing. I see all these people doing really amazing things throughout really the world, but specifically the U.S. And I've just really forged these friendships and bonds over this social media app. And you really just get to know these people. You see what they're posting on a daily basis. And, I was sitting here and I said, farm tripping. It's like road tripping, but we're going to farms. And I went and I checked the domain, and we got farmtrippin.com, and it just started. It kind of unfolded. My whole kind of agricultural and food growing career has kind of been very similar, where the universe just seemed to support it, and everything kind of lined up. And, and I feel like the universe does want our kind to be successful, and not only growing food for people, educating people, healing the land, but also, connecting and taking this on the road and seeing what I can learn from this all and bring back to, my primary project with St. Vincent de Paul, but B, teaching what I have learned, and then C, shaking the hands of these people that I've been, talking to over an app for the last three and a half years here. So that's kind of what spawned it. And I brought it up to my girlfriend, and she is actually finishing up with her doctorate degree here in the next couple weeks.
Congratulations
she had
to her, by the way.
Yeah, Shayna, congrats. So she had a month off in between, and I had already planned on taking July off because it's July in Phoenix is not absolutely ideal farming weather unless you're trying to farm sweats. And, it just kind of started to come together. She was really into it. She's really been supportive and really passionate as well about learning more about where food comes from and really the way that I choose to growing soil and in a really more mindful and I guess you could say kind of holistic way of growing. And it just started to go together. She's been helping build the website, and we've been. My background before I started growing was really sales and marketing. And so I've been reaching out to different sponsors, and we've got some great sponsors on board so far that are going to either be supporting us through gifts for the farmers. So we're going to have gift baskets for all the farmers and also things for us, snacks and iced coffees or monetary donations to help us out with gas and lodging and whatnot. But it's really been coming together, and we're really excited. We're going to be taking off July 10th. We'll be going through the southern United States, stopping in New Mexico, Texas, New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll be headed through Alabama, and then Florida is huge. And so we'll be going through the Panhandle all the way down to Miami. And then it looks like we'll actually be heading up the East Coast to Maryland, and then back down through Appalachia through to North Carolina, and then through the Bible Belt there, and probably stop in Colorado and back down to Arizona. So it's quite the adventure. I've never done anything like this, not even a road trip we've gone to Texas a couple times, which is quite the road trip in itself.
Oh, yes, I've done that.
This is all, I've never been through the South, and especially in July. It should be pretty interesting and pretty moist. But we're really excited. We're bringing our dog Green Bean with us, who is
You have a dog named Green Bean. I love it. Tell us about Green Bean.
Well, Green Bean was a rescue. She is a mix. She's quite a unique-looking character. Actually, if you go on my Instagram, I post pictures of her pretty often. I like to say she's part kangaroo, part squirrel, and part fox.
Oh, wow.
Because she's just got a very springy, long-legged bounce to her. She does kind of have a curly tail like a fox, a big bushy curly tail, and it's very playful like a squirrel. You'll have to tune in and see. So we'll be sharing YouTube videos. Also, on my Instagram account, we'll be kind of vlogging through that and posting updates, and hoping to really engage a lot of the farmers. We're going to be stopping and doing yoga in places, and just really experiencing these towns, experiencing these farms, getting to know these people and what their stories are, and bringing that to the table. Because I really feel like what's happened with food, and you can attest to this, is, if you ask somebody where their food comes from, and they're really kind of not aware, and
the grocery store, man.
Exactly right. They're more, and back 75 years ago, you knew the story of how to plant a turnip. You knew when to plant lettuce, or else you didn't get turnips or lettuce. Now people know how to order, something off the secret menu on a fast food. That's where their food knowledge lays. And that to me is pretty troubling, because what that does is it's really cutting us off from the ability to have our own food. We're really dependent on this agricultural system as a society. And in my opinion, and I think it's a fact now, we can say that, is that it's obviously A, not that healthy for us as humans, and B, obviously not that healthy for the environment. So what I'm really looking to do is meet the people that are doing it right and learn from them, and if I can, help them do it maybe even a little bit better. And in that time, also growing a relationship with them.
Yeah. So who are you seeing along the way?
Well, so our first stop is going to be in New Mexico, and we actually have several farms that we're working with there, and I'm still confirming, to be honest with you. We're trying to get the best fit. We will be going to Austin, Texas next, and we're staying there for a couple days.
Right.
I'm stopping at a private residence farm, and this is a guy, he's on Instagram. It's Foxotron, and I think it's Foxxotron. And he actually works in the music business, but is a hobby farmer that has a pretty amazing hobby with, I think, about a 2,700 or 3,000 foot greenhouse, growing all types of and he's basically turned it into a tropical food forest. And then he's got a permaculture style orchard with, wildflowers and a true pasture, and an annual garden as well. So, and that's going to be, Jason's going to be our first stop there. And then we're going to be stopping as well and checking out a compost company in Austin, Texas, that is doing a full circle compost to farm and then back to the restaurants they're selling to. Okay, and that's going to be Joe's Organics, and those guys, we're going to be checking in with them. Then we're going to be headed to New Orleans, and we're actually going to be doing a focus in New Orleans. We've actually got, there's about 5 farms I'd like to check out there. I'm going to be doing at least 2 of them. But some of the ones that I would say, if you're interested in looking up some of the farms we're doing, there's a Sun Harvest Kitchen and Garden is one of them that we're looking into. Also, the Covenant Farms. And let's see here. And we've got the Little Sparrow Farm.
Oh, nice.
And all of these have really been part of like the revitalization. We're obviously all familiar with Katrina and how badly New Orleans got hit. So we'll be spending several days in Austin, a couple days in New Orleans. It'll actually be Shayna's birthday, so we'll probably take a little break from the farm tripping and maybe go jazz tripping through the city there. I have never been to New Orleans, and neither has she.
Oh,
so we'll
you're in for a treat. It is so cool.
Oh, we are incredibly excited.
Yeah. I actually did the New Orleans half marathon here about, 6 or 7 years ago. And it was, so I got to run through the streets of New Orleans. And it was very New Orleans-like. I mean, people on the balconies screaming for us, and it was really cool.
That is amazing. Yeah. I could not run 13 miles. I would,
Well,
I walk about... I walk about 5 miles on the farm every day, according to the
Exactly.
Fitbit.
There you go. There you go.
Unless I'm getting chased by something, I'm not running too much.
Yeah. Well, and I don't, I started out running 15, 16 years ago. Actually, I started out running in high school. And then I picked it back up about 15, 16 years ago. But, at 56, my body's creaking a little bit and doesn't like to run. So actually, I race walk. I do something called race walking on these half marathons anymore. So it's, I'm just fast walking them. And it really does, for me, this is a health thing that I do the PF Chang half marathon in Phoenix, the rock and roll half marathon here in Phoenix every year. And so I know I know that the third Sunday of every January, I better be in good enough shape to be doing a half marathon. So it's
and you better watch where you're driving through Phoenix, because it turns into a little difficult going east to west there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So cool. All right. So after New Orleans, you're heading to Florida.
After New Orleans, we're going to be crossing through Alabama. I'm still reaching out to a couple farmers throughout, because we're not going to be winging it, but I'm sure we're going to discover some stuff along the way that we're going to stop. So we have about 8 planned stops.
Nice.
And the next one is going to be in Gainesville, Florida. There's a woman by the name of Claire Mitchell, and she was the owner of 10 Speed Greens. And what that was a dirt lot that they turned into a food production, a small farm, and they were delivering all the produce on bicycles. And her and another woman, Danielle Krasnicki,
Yeah.
I should know this, with a Polish last name like Kasowski. But those two did a really cool thing. There ended up being kind of it was a lease or a rented land. So they're just getting into their new digs. And so we're going to go check that out. I don't know the name of it yet, but I think you could still look up 10 Speed Greens online. We'll then be going to Orlando, and there's a gentleman by the name of Brent Buffington who runs a community-based garden there. We're going to be talking with him.
Cool.
And then down through Florida, there is so much agriculture going on in Florida. I think we'll do several stops there. But then we're going to be headed to a Miami project, which is one of the I'm really excited about this one. It's called Verde Garden. And these guys are actually giving work to homeless families.
Nice.
And they can they get paid from it. And they're learning the skill to grow food, and it just seems like a really neat project. And they have like a cafe there as well. So really good. It's a 22-acre farm too, so it's a pretty big area. I guess the kind of beginning of it came from an Air Force property that was destroyed by Hurricane Andrew, and so that they've revitalized that area and also revitalized the community. Yeah. By bringing, this really helpful program to grow fresh, healthy food, and then kind of get some people back to work.
This is a fun trip as well, right?
There will be some fun involved, I guarantee that.
Yeah. So do yourself a favor. You're going to be in Miami. Drive to Key West. This is the Florida Keys. This is a road that runs over the ocean. And I'm looking at the map right now. It looks to be like 25 miles out to Key West. And I hear it's just beautiful. So for me, do that and then come back and tell me about it, because I've not done it before.
Well, and we'll be posting about it, Greg.
All right, cool.
We're going to have videos. We're going to have an incredible amount of footage. We're really going to be videotaping everything.
Cool.
And with that being said, you are the second person today that has told me to go to Key West.
Oh, yeah, baby.
So I definitely would like to check out Key West.
Yeah.
It sounds beautiful, and I am more than excited to be surrounded by water.
Oh, no kidding.
It's a pretty warm one here in Phoenix, so as you know.
So then you're going to flip up out of Florida.
Yeah, and we're working with some people in Georgia, and then headed to Maryland, the Eastern Shore of Maryland.
Wow.
And my mother actually lives up there, and she might actually, so she doesn't know I'm coming yet. And she'll probably listen to this and find out. But my mom lives up there, and I don't get to see her a whole ton, so we'll probably go up there and see on the Eastern Shore there. and then headed over to a mutual friend of ours, Greg, Sina Kasim, or Hasim. And she just bought a place in the mountains of North Carolina. She's got some acreage out there.
Yeah.
And we're going to go visit her and see what she's doing out there in the sticks now, in beautiful, misty mountains of North Carolina.
Nice.
So we do have some scheduled stops for sure. We've been planning. I've been pretty busy. Now it's heating up. I've got a little bit more time to kind of focus on this, away from the farm a little more. So we'll be solidifying plans, and everything will be posted on the website where we're stopping, and profiles and bios and whatnot. I am not a website builder. I'm a soil builder, so that's taken a little bit longer than expected, but it's definitely coming. And thanks to my awesome girlfriend Shayna, who's been more than a huge help.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all her. It's just a WordPress site, and
good.
You can. In the meantime, we've been kind of prepping and going to a couple other farms in Arizona and surrounding, and really just starting to get our flow going. And
nice.
Again, we're really excited. I think the best part of what I do and what we're going to be doing beyond the social aspect and getting this information out is I have fun with it. And that for me is something that wasn't always part of my things that made me money, and I sat in front of a computer and had a headset on and did these different types of jobs that might have paid well or whatever the case was, got me by. But I wasn't really truly enjoying myself. And that for me is incredibly important. And so now I'm really focusing more on doing the right thing, on top of really truly doing things that make me happy. And I think road tripping across the U.S. with my crazy dog and great girlfriend and visiting all these different farmers is something that it cultivates happiness inside of me, and I can really share that with others and hopefully bring some happiness and knowledge to others too.
Perfect. So are you still looking for farms to visit?
We are, absolutely. And if you wanted to, if you're along the southern United States, or you are along the East Coast, and honestly, we'll probably be going through kind of the middle USA. If you're interested, and here's the thing too, I don't think this is going to be our only trip. We're really looking to do this again as well. So you can always email me at tony@growkale.com. That's TONY@growkale.com. Or we do have a farm Trippin email set up too, and that is going to be trippers, TRIPPERS, at farmtrippin.com. And no G on Trippin. So it's FARMTRIPPIN.com.
Cool. You know what's so incredibly cool for me about this is that you have an amazing palette of small, rural and urban farms of people that are actually really interested in growing food and contributing to the local food system that you can go see. And I don't think that was available 10 years ago. This is new.
I would fully agree. And one, and it's really cool to watch happen. I've been doing this now since about 2010. And I think that's about when we first met, Greg. I was working for a seed company, and you were kind of, still are, really the man in Phoenix with the urban agriculture and growing here. And I think when we started, there was not a lot of us. There was it was kind of picking up a little bit. But the amount of growth I've seen in the more organic sector, small farms, is just beyond amazing. And what it goes to show, though, is the power of the consumer, and the power, I think, of social media. And people, when I used to go and try and buy like a fertilizer, let's say at a big box store, like Home Depot or something, right? And I'd walk in and they'd have the Alaska fish fertilizer, and that was it. Right? Now you go and they've got 11 different fertilizers that have been inoculated with endomycorrhizals, bacterias. They're using kelps, they're using, bat guano. And the whole industry has had to shift.
Yeah.
And that to me is a sign of some progress for sure. We're not in a place anymore where the chemical fertilizers on a home garden is acceptable. You know, when I grew up, I know my parents were like, oh, just put some Miracle-Gro on it and it's going to work perfect.
Yeah.
And now we know that, you know, these ammonium nitrates and these chemical fertilizers are really nothing more than fillers and sterilize. They're going to sterilize the microbiology in our soil, which in turn it just makes you need to buy more Miracle-Gro. So, you know, one thing that I really focus on and have focused on is soil health and really bringing the soil and making that the focus, and really the plants are secondary. Because what I've always said, if you take care of the soil, the plants are going to do just fine. You know, it's kind of like if you eat well, your body's going to be better. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to folks and they're like, well, you don't use any pesticides. Well, what about aphids on your kale? And I'm like, well, you know, here's the deal. There's aphids on your kale are going to be a symptom. Either your kale is not getting something that it needs, or you've created an environment by maybe not harvesting your kale that's conducive to housing aphids, you know. I always say pests are just like predators in the wild. They are going to go for the young, the old, or the sick. Okay. They are not going for that perfect looking healthy kale, because the plants have an immune system. And if you can keep the soil healthy and the plants are absorbing all of that, which is coming from the microbiology, you know, and you know, listening to people like Elaine Ingham talk, where and she's been on your show, is a great episode. You know, where it's like, okay, so we're going to photosynthesize sunlight, turn it into sugar. Bacteria and fungi are going to eat that, and then protozoa and microanthropods are going to come and eat that and give us all our nutrients. Like it's simple as that, really. I mean, it's pretty scientific, but it does the work for us. And so when we kind of try to micromanage all these different, you know, NPKs and you know, different types of pest management, we're really doing nothing but setting ourselves back. So my whole approach is much more, I would say, lazy, but also just holistic and mindful, and really honoring the fact that microbiology is going to be what's really producing the food. That's what's producing our plants. You know, you go to the forest, nobody fertilizes the forest, and it works, you know? So my whole thing is getting back to these natural systems, incorporating rainwater harvesting, permaculture techniques, respecting the land, respecting the people, and, you know, obviously with my charitable growing, giving fair share. So, you know, those are your three principles of permaculture right there.
Exactly.
And it really works into, like we were talking about the other day, not only gardening, but, you know, your entire life.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to rewind a little bit to the kale and bug question. I get that question every year.
Yes, absolutely.
I get that question every year via email and on tours and stuff around. So for all of you listeners that aren't in Phoenix, by March, it's hot here. And by March, all of our winter greens are pretty much toast. There's some of them that will last into April and May, but mostly they're toast. And that's when the aphids show up. So the bugs provide a really, really important resource, and that's breaking down the plants into soil for next year. So we can't forget that.
Well, and you know, I absolutely, and beyond that, I believe that you can't, well, not I believe, you need to have quote unquote bad bugs to have good bugs. You know, if you don't have aphids, you're not going to have ladybugs, and you're not going to have lacewings. You know, if you don't have these cabbage worms, what are your parasitic wasps going to lay their eggs on? What are, you know, the paper wasp will go and just chew them up. You know, so an ecological garden, one of my favorite books that I always recommend to every single client is Gaia's Garden by Toby Hemingway. Unfortunately passed this year, and but you know, his message obviously will live on through thousands, if not, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. That where it's an ecological setting. You know, we're not trying to do I mean, you've seen our farm. There's really not much. I mean, there's organization to it. I know where everything is,
Right.
but it's a very,
It's pretty wild.
There's multiple layers.
Yep.
It is. It's like a jungle, and that works for us. And,
Yeah.
And we don't try to force anything. Sometimes I'll lift up a bush and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this. There's kale here, and it's June, and it's doing okay. Because we've got all these different little microclimates.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, how I operate is a very kind of orderly chaos, if you may, and allowing nature to really do its thing. And I think that's where a lot of our success lies.
Yeah, exactly. So remind us about your trip, again, when you're leaving and how long you're going to be gone for.
So we'll be leaving on July 10th from Phoenix, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We plan to be back around August 1st, going through the southern United States, up the East Coast, and then through the middle of the U.S. and headed back to Phoenix. And hopefully we'll have some nice monsoon rains here and cooler temps when we get back.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So we'll also want to get you on the show when you arrive back, because I want to update. We want to hear who you met with and what you discovered. And so we'll make sure that we get you back on the show.
I really appreciate it, Greg, and I'm sure we will have plenty of stories. We're really, really excited, not only for the trip itself, the people, and just the experience. So
nice. Yeah.
We will definitely love to share that with you. Maybe we'll bring Shayna and Green Bean too.
Oh, perfect. So I'm just going to put you on notice right now. On your trip, be looking for that epic moment that you can tell us a story about.
Absolutely.
Right.
I feel like there may be a selection of several. However,
Nice.
I will. I'll save one and stamp Greg Peterson, urbanfarm.org on there.
Woohoo! Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Tony. I am very excited about your trip and to hear back.
Hey, Greg, I really, really appreciate you having us on, and really excited to share the stories with you all. And again, check us out, farmtrippin.com or on Instagram @TonyGrowsFood.
Perfect. So you can find show notes from today's podcasts with links to Tony's previous podcast at urbanfarm.org/farmtrippin. That's FARMTRIPPIN. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us on the Urban Farm Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Urban Farm Podcast. Remember to listen 3 days a week for tips, advice, and resources to help you on your journey with urban farming. You can find us on the web at urbanfarm.org or send us an email to podcast@urbanfarm.org. In the words of Vincent van Gogh, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Be encouraged that with each lesson learned and skill developed, you are one step closer in the direction of your dreams.